Hi, my name is Marco. I'm an aspiring data analyst, and I wanted to show everyone a project I've been working on, a self-made project. It started off with web scraping, then went into cleaning, and then Power BI. So this is the Power BI report I built. I'm going to get into my methodology and my logic and reasoning behind it. This is not really about the actual coding of it. It's just an overview of the code and just things I had to deal with, problems I ran into, and then dealing with the final product of creating a dashboard. So I started off with web scraping. I wanted to do a web scraping project. In courses, I learned how to do HTML web scraping. Nothing too intricate, so I figured I would go ahead and do a large web scraping project. So I decided to web scrape Kelly Blue Book. It's a car website. You could look at new cars, you could look at used cars and certified, get values of your current car. So I decided to web scrape used and certified vehicles. And when I was looking at the web page, I was trying to figure out, okay, what do I want to do with Kelly Blue Book? So I figured out the certified and used part. I was started exploring all the pages, looking at how the filtering is, how many pages there are, and everything. The Kelly Blue Book shows 40 pages if you don't do advanced filtering on it. So I decided I would go ahead and scrape 40 pages, the first 40 pages of each manufacturer. And that was, viewing the HTML code and Kbb at the same time, the website. And I decided that I would scrape 34 manufacturers. 40 pages of each manufacturer came out to about 35,000 cars, 1,080 roughly in each. So it was a good sample size. The total that Kbb was showing across the country was 1 million cars. So obviously it would have been too much to capture all 1 million cars. That would have taken forever and possibly get me banned from Kelly Blue Book, which I didn't want to do. So I decided on taking a sample. I believe the random sample of the first 40 pages would have been a good capture of what's out there on the market and be hopefully pretty well representative of all the makes and models. I filtered it by year, 2017 and newer, of all certified and used. I didn't want to go older. I didn't want too many old models in there, diluting the data set. I wanted to keep it newer, within like the past 6 years, cars that people would be interested in purchasing, and more common models. I didn't include high-end models like Aston Martin or Ferrari or anything like that. And in the workbook, you can see the extensions I used: Beautiful Soup, Requests, JSON, Time, Pandas, and regular expressions. I built my code. Took me a little bit because it's a mix of HTML and JSON, and I really only learned how to scrape HTML code. It took me a little bit of figuring it out. Eventually got it down, started scraping it. I did it by car model, car make. So there was 34 brands. So I scraped 34 times, 40 pages. I didn't lump it all into one code. I wanted to break it out to monitor each data set, see what I'm doing wrong and whatnot, and how it's coming out. And I also didn't want to overload Kbb, so I would scrape one group, 40 pages, take a break for a couple hours, then scrape another car brand, give some time in between it, also with a random sleep timer involved, so I didn't really overload their system. This is split between two workbooks. I have two other workbooks up right now, but that's another web scraping project that's going on that I'm scraping currently. This is it's two workbooks, and I'll explain why I have a second workbook in a second. But here's a snippet of what the data frame looked like when it came in. So you had used 2017 BMW X5 xDrive 35i, or this one that says premium package, the price, the mileage, the engine type, the transmission type, the color, and the drive wheel configuration. So I took all 34 data sets, combined it into one data set, and then I had to clean it. It was a lot of cleaning to the way I wanted it, because I was looking at it. I understand it. Maybe not everybody would understand it, what the packages are, or what the transmission type differences are, drive wheel configuration, engines. So I kind of cleaned it up. I added some columns. I condensed it. I made it more simpler and more digestible and easier for non-car enthusiasts. I added some columns too, like I pulled out the used and the certified. I made that its own column. I added a column for vehicle type, because when I was looking at the HTML code, I noticed they didn't have a vehicle type. So you don't, when I was scraping, you see the BMW X5. I know it's a SUV, but somebody looking at it may not. So I made it a column of SUV, sedan, pickup, minivan, van, coupe, to break it down so people know what kind of car each model is. So it was pretty intensive cleaning, but the project, this page was pretty big. It was mostly all the web scraping. I started cleaning, and then I ran into a memory issue. I'm not sure why it was causing the memory issue. I'm figuring it was because of the size, something to do with the size of all the web scraping that was being done, and then cleaning. So I ended up having to start a second notebook. And the second notebook was just continuation of the cleaning. Cleaned it, got it to where I wanted. I can show a snippet of the mapping I had to do. This is the mapping, the remapping of that column I was telling you about, the car type column. So thankfully, I'm a car enthusiast. I know most of all the car types and the models that are associated with each car type. So this was pretty easy to do. I used Excel for this portion. I copy and pasted all the models out of the printout up here. I put it in Excel, made the mapping in Excel, and then imported it back in, copy and pasted it back into Jupyter Notebook so I could map it. And this is just a lot of cleaning that I was doing. This is missing values I was handling, the zero values in the price column. You can see here that in my code, I ran into this issue. I noticed later on that some dealerships, actually, I should say, were uploading, instead of a price, they were saying call dealer for pricing information. And this wasn't really obviously useful for me. Later on, I figured out how to get around it, to skip those, and to only pull ads with a price. And a lot of the missing data that I had, a lot of it I was able to plug back in using the median. So, for example, if it was like the Ford Expedition, I extracted all the Ford Expeditions. I excluded the zero values, ran the mean, median, and mode, and I basically went with the median. That was the lower of all the values, so I used the median. I figured that was the safest bet. I used that for all the models that were possible. There were some there was just too little data that I wasn't comfortable using the median. It would have artificially either higher or lowered the value of the vehicles. So I had to go back and fix some of the web scraping I did. I had to go back and, for example, for the Ford, I had to go back and web scrape the Ford Maverick, which is a small pickup. My web scraping code pulled 40 Ford Maverick models. It was all the same model with zero value, zero information. So I had to drop the Ford Maverick out of my set, my data frame, and go and rescrape 40 replacement Mavericks. And at this point, I also noticed I missed the brand. This is currently 33. I noticed I missed Volvo. Not sure how I missed them. Sorry, Volvo. I went back and web scraped Volvo with the cleaned code of skipping, called dealer for pricing, and any with 0 mileage. So I was able to capture, clean it, and now it was all set for modeling. So down here you can see more of how I had the data frame set up at the end. So it was the used vehicle classification, year, make, model, packages, price, mileage, engine type, transmission type, drivetrain color, and vehicle type. And then I moved it all over to Power BI. So I didn't really have much DAX and Power Query to do in Power BI. I did mostly all my cleaning in Python. Used to cleaning in Python. I took a lengthy 6-month course on Python, so most of my cleaning I'm the most comfortable in Python, and Excel as well, but for me it's easier in Python. So this is the dashboard, the report I created. On the left, it's a bar chart with all the models. That breaks down much better when you actually start using the slicers. Right now it looks kind of ugly, but I'll just run through this quickly. You have the slicers on top with the year, make, model, and a clear all slicers button. I prefer clearing all slicers. I like it when you start selecting multiple ones, or you have to go back and unclick that model or make. It's just easier to clear all slicers to me. Then I have the lowest price, the lowest mileage to the right. I have the average price and then the average mileage for whatever you slice on, the highest price and the max mileage, with conditional formatting built in on it. And then I have the used vehicle classification, certified or used, what is it listed as, transmission, automatic and manual, the data set when I originally pulled it, when I originally web scraped it. Transmission types, they had a very granulated, broken down transmission types. So it was 9-speed automatic, 10-speed automatic, Stiptronic or CVT transmission, and I was like, okay, this is too much. I want it simple. I want it, nobody really cares if it's 9-speed or 10-speed. This project's not really aiming for that. This is just aiming for taking a sample of Kelley Blue Book or what's out there, and is it automatic or manual? That's what I was curious in. Drivetrain. I broke down the drivetrain. They had it pretty good. They just had it different with capitalization. So all-wheel drive, the first letter in each word was capitalized, and then they had one that was all lowercase, for example. So that was a little bit of cleaning there. Shrunk it down to all-wheel drive, front-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, and four-wheel drive rear bias. The rear wheel bias, that is a four-wheel drive car that prefers to use the rear wheels. That's how the manufacturer designed it. And if you hover over it, there's a little tooltip I made about the drivetrain, just breaking out the acronym so you know what each means if you're not a car person and you don't really understand it. And then the vehicle types, I have the coupe, the minivan, the pickup, sedan, SUV, van, all broken out. The packages all broken out for each make and model. The colors, all the colors that it came with. There was some unknown colors, or NA. They actually put unknown. When going back to the website and doing a quick search on a couple of them that came up as unknown, there was actually not listed on the ad, and there was a stock photo of the car, as like if you were on the website, or just a random stock photo of the vehicle. No specific model, not the specific model. So I left it as unknown, and I moved the NAs into unknown. Just easier and cleaner to look at. Engine sizes I left as is for the most part. Did a little bit cleaning in there, but not much. It was pretty breaking out pretty well. If you see 3-cylinder turbo, 4-cylinder turbo. Obviously, I didn't include the liters or the size of the motor. Just trying to keep it as simple as possible. And then if we used it, I could give you how it looks as sample. If we take Acura and then everything adjusts. You have all your Acura models, the RDX, MDX, TLX, ILX, Integra, and RLX. I would figure this is a pretty good capture of what's out there right now on the market. RDX and MDX are SUVs. SUVs are right now the most popular cars being sold in America. TLX comes in second, which is a sedan, and the ILX is the smaller sedan. So it kind of makes sense of how this is set up, how this was captured. Based off of my knowledge, it follows reality. Integra is a newer model. That's why it's very low. This model just came out. So I am actually even surprised that there is some used models or certified pre-owned models already. The RLX is an older, larger sedan. I don't think they make it anymore. I'm not sure. I didn't bother to research it, but I am pretty sure the RLX is probably discontinued, as a lot of manufacturers today are discontinuing their larger sedans and just focusing on SUVs and smaller sedans or hatchbacks. So everything filters on how you click it. MDX. So this is looking at the largest SUV they make. The engine's 6-cylinder hybrid. All the colors. So it gives you a kind of snippet of what's going on in the used and certified car market right now. The average prices, the highest prices, the max mileages. And you can filter it down even more. Like, let's take a look at Ford. Ford is an interesting one. F-150 is the most models on the first 40 pages. Then it's the Expedition, which kind of makes sense. That's an SUV, that's a pickup. The Mustang is third, which is the coupe. Everybody knows the Ford Mustang. And then the more pickups, more SUVs, which makes sense because that's what Ford is known for, is their pickups, and their SUVs are pretty popular. And this is pretty much it. This is what I've been working on. Web scraped it, cleaned it in Python, and decided to put something together in Power BI, make a report and showcase what I've learned and a little bit of my skills. Right now I got another web scraping project on manufacturing parts going on. So thank you for watching. If you have any comments or feedback, please leave it. Anything, if it's the Power BI report, if it's the coding portion, maybe you want to see more, or you want to question me on my methodology, go ahead. Thank you for watching again, and have a great day.